So in this video, we're going to have a look at the KPIs of this holistic digital business, digital marketing growth framework. And as I've told you, we are basically now at the point where I realized that there are 6 areas. There is product, there is brand, and there is sales. And in each of these 3 major areas, there's like a split between the 2 opposites. For product, it's the product itself, how it looks, does it solve a problem, etc. But also how well does the product just bring in the money from the customer? How easily pay people for the value? How much is the value perceived? How much do they pay in terms of average order values, CLTV, etc. So for product, it's split into product and CLTV. For brand, it's split into brand, which means all the authority, all the trust, all the foundation, all the story, all the PR, like all the other trust factors that you can then use in your content. So brand is split into brand and content. Content meaning organic stuff, but also ads, obviously. How well is your ad crafted? How good is your cold ads retargeting? Like the quality of your ads, basically, with design, with copywriting, etc. And the last third part is sales. In this case, digital sales, which means selling through the digital marketing channels, selling through Facebook ads, social media, etc. Also possible to view that, like to view the organic side of it, like organic reach, organic growth, viral reach, whatever, but mostly the paid stuff. How cheap are your clicks? How high are your click rates? This is the traffic stuff. How well is your the technical side done? How good is your setup with your ads manager, etc. And the second half is the conversion. How well is your funnel crafted? How good is your page? How well is it like web designed? And how good is the load speed and the forms and the checkout and everything that goes into conversion. So we have 6 areas: product, brand, content, traffic conversion, and the CLTV. And just from the symmetry, you could tell, and I could tell, we finally got it. That's it. There is no more searching. There's no more figuring things out. There's no more, we missed something once the next client project kind of fail. We just knew we had it. And I mean, we've proven that it works by producing like amazing case studies with this framework now. But one thing is still something that I had kind of to learn at the last end of it. And that was, how does daily budget and the scaling fit into this? How does the actual spending of marketing budget fit into this? And what does scaling exactly mean? Because we as a growth marketing agency, we try to scale ad accounts. We try to scale the monthly budget, monthly revenue to like turn a small working company into like a really, really big brand by making 10x, 100x on their reach and on their revenue. And it took me a couple more like weeks to understand this. But for example, the example that I had with the Shark Tank company. In this case, what did we do? We were really good at acquiring new customers with our acquisition system, but the business was really bad at retaining them. So there was a CLTV bottleneck. And I kind of got the hint that, okay, there has to be some sort of money in, money out logic to it. And if you have a look at all the other systems where I gave some examples in the beginning, like the highway, the soccer team, the plant, the factory, in all these cases, well, I'm not so sure about the soccer team example, but in all these cases, you have your bottlenecks, your parts, what does the system consist of? And there's another metric, which is basically called systems output, systems transformation actually, systems energy transformation. Because there's an input and an output. For example, on the 3-lane highway, the 3 lanes would be the parts, the bottlenecks, the potential bottlenecks. And if these 3 parts are well optimized, if all lanes are open, then there can be a lot, like a very high energy transformation, where a lot of cars go from point A to point B. That's like the volume that the system can basically transform, transmute, turnover, however you want to call it. There's a consumption side to it. Something gets consumed by the system and something is created by the system. It's very obvious for the plant, right? What does a plant mainly do in terms of its energy transformation? It takes CO2 and like does something with it and creates oxygen. And for example, humans, they breathe oxygen in and they breathe out CO2. So the plants take the CO2 again and create oxygen again. So that's a wonderful symbiosis there. And so I thought, okay, there has to be some sort of energy in, energy out logic to this business as well. And that has very much to do with the daily budget and the marketing spend that goes into the ads, to running traffic. So what we basically have is we have a 6-part system that has some sort of energy consumption and some sort of energy creation. And because we're talking about business, I thought, okay, this has to be some sort of money in, money out logic to it, especially when you run ads and you just know that, okay, I have the system and it's the product, brand, content, traffic, conversion, CLTV. And the better these 6 areas are, the easier it is for me to spend a lot of budget profitably with the system. And I guess every marketer, every agency owner knows this, that if you have just a really bad product or a really bad brand or your ads are not working and you're spending money into it, this money is gone. So it's clear that the system consumes daily budget. It consumes the ad budget. And what we're trying to do is to get more money out than the system consumes in ad budget. But how do we define the metric? Because you cannot say, I mean, you get you put money into it, you run your ads, and you get money out from your initial customers, but what you really get is the whole CLTV of that newly acquired customer, right? You buy a new customer for 40 euro CPA on Facebook or Google or wherever, and you have a whole new customer that will stay and stick with your business for years potentially if you have a great service or a great product, and you can nurture him with email marketing, with a lot of retention stuff. So you get the customer. You get one new customer. That's why it's called media buying, because you buy the impressions. You pay money to these platforms to get new customers. And what the system, this demand marketing creation system that we're talking about here with the 6 bottlenecks, what this creates for your business is a new customer. And so if we have a look at this graphics, where this is systems thinking 101. This is, you can not just basically discover and identify this sort of system. You could use this logic to every problem you face in business, in personal, in sports, in whatever problem you're looking at. This systems thinking, bottleneck thinking, solves every problem once you know what are the parts, what are the bottlenecks, and what's the energy transformation, which is most likely the problem that you encounter, that, for example, you raised a lot of money in ads and you don't get any new customers from it. Or the new customers that you get from it, they are not bringing you enough money in to be profitable, but which most likely would be some sort of CLTV bottleneck. So what we're looking at here is exactly the solution. There is the system with its 6 parts, and this system takes energy in, which is daily ad budget, and it throws out new customers. That's the energy that's getting transformed here. And what we did over years and years of testing, investing millions into this stuff and working with hundreds of businesses and their ad accounts to make sure this actually is accurate. What we did is not only did we put for every of the 6 areas, we created some sort of measurement KPI scale where we can identify how well is this area optimized, but we also were able to put a tangible numbers down for the amount of ad budget or the energy that can be transformed, basically. And so for the first time now, I'm going to show this to you, and I'm going to explain this to you in very much detail. And so that's how it looks. Let me just remove these things here so you have a better, clear view of it. So this is what we call the bottleneck KPI framework, because it combines both things. It combines the holistic bottleneck strategy with very tangible, very concrete KPIs and data that you might know already from your ads managers, from Google Analytics, from your conversion rate measurement tools. And some parts of it are well-known marketing, performance marketing knowledge. Some stuff of it we had to develop and invent ourselves, because performance marketing is just a tiny part of the whole system. And by just focusing on the marketing, you cannot fix the whole business if there are bottlenecks in some of the other areas. So I'm going to just go through this with you and explain it to you in detail. First pillar, product. We have this metric, and I'm going to make a whole video or like a video series about it. The checklist that we used to qualify our businesses, our projects, our clients, where we basically have an indicator that's called the perfect product checklist. It's an indicator that tells us how good is your product already. Because especially if you are a marketer, if you are a marketing agency and the client is responsible for the product quality, or the founder is working on his product and now he's looking for a marketer to partner up with you, for example, or you are a founder, or you are an entrepreneur looking to start a new business, this perfect product checklist is going to completely transform the way you approach new businesses, because you can, before you invest any money into anything, or before you start the venture, you have an indicator about the success chance and how easy it will be to make this idea, this vision, this product into a successful major brand online, because that is what we're trying to do. And if you have a bottleneck in your product, this hinders everything else, because you cannot turn a shitty product into like an amazing, well-known, famous brand. That just doesn't work. You need to have a transformational, amazing product that has the exact features that the customers were kind of looking for, that brings the exact benefits that they desire, that they demand. You have to like merge that with a really hot market that needs someone to solve this problem. And so the PPC, the perfect product checklist, is the first scale that we use to evaluate how good is your product. And if you don't have at least like a 70, 80, then I will not work with that business, because it will just be a waste of my time and the founder's time and my team's time. Because, well, you don't need to be at an 80 to 100 starting out. That's rarely the case. Sometimes you start with an MVP, you have like a lean first product iteration and you improve over time. But what we need to see is we need to see the vision for an 80 out of 100. So it's like an 8 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 kind of product vision that we need to see. And some ideas are just so bad and scoring so bad on the perfect product checklist that even if you improve it for 5 years, and you try your absolute best with marketing, it will always fail because of the kind of bad product, bad business idea in the first place. And the perfect product checklist will tell you exactly how that works. And I'm not going into too much detail here, so we can focus on the rest of the framework. Just like the perfect product checklist, we have a perfect brand checklist, because the brand is the foundation for all the content that we're going to create later. Like, for example, a retargeting funnel or a series of really engaging video ads. These can only be created in a well-performing, congruent, exciting, engaging way that results in high click rates and cheap click costs if the brand foundation is highly optimized. So we have something that looks very similar to the perfect product checklist, just for brands and the brand aspect to the business. And it's called the perfect brand checklist, and it works the exact same way. There are 10 different things, 10 different aspects of a brand that make it either really good or really good if you score well and if you have like all the stuff that is needed. For example, an inspiring, purpose-driven story that you want to make an impact. You maybe even donate a couple of percent of your revenue or profit to that impact, so it becomes a very trustworthy, very, very real, very like human brand to it. So this would be a very good brand where you can find a lot of articles about it, where you also have like ambassadors and PR and influencers working with you on the same mission, selfless driven mission to make the world a better place, to change the health system or change the education or have people become more fit or more healthy or more intelligent and just improve their life through this amazing brand. That would be a very high scoring brand, while the random dropshipper China guy that just tries to make some money on the side, not caring at all about the cause or the impact of the business, this would be a very bad score, and this would hinder everything that follows from what you can put into your ads as sales triggers, what you can put into your landing page as trust symbols, emotional sales strategies. All the sales stuff will only work if this brand foundation is good. And we have the perfect brand checklist for that, the PBC. That is that. And these were basically the two only metrics that we had to develop ourselves, because we just couldn't find someone else. Like, no one did that before us. Everyone was basically thinking about how they're marketing, and you see these KPIs here, you see the CTR, you see things like outbound CTR, you see conversion rates, CPA, CLTV, ROAS, and you know these KPIs, but they only work if you have a great product and a great brand to begin with, and then you market that, you sell that online, and it will work. If you don't have that, and you're only thinking about these numbers and how to improve them through even better copywriting or even better targeting, that's not going to change anything about your overall end result and the growth and the profits and the scalability of this business. So for the content. Here, between content and traffic, you basically have ads. The ad means you have content and you run this ad. From a creative side, copywriting, design, sales, like good creative, but also the technical side, the data, the ads manager setup, the algorithm, the pixel, the learning phase, the way you target, the way you make your bidding, the way you make your optimization, the way you make your split testing, the numbers, the performance. This comes together in the ads. And if you work with Facebook ads, you basically know that they have a metric that's called CTR. And here's another metric that's called ACTR. Because in Germany, we say like ausgehende clicks or ausgehende CTR, which is like outbound. So this is the outbound CTR, which is the real traffic metric. CTR on Facebook is an engagement metric. And this is very confusing. And still today, a lot of marketers get this wrong and they optimize their ads for CTR, not realizing that they are not getting clicks. If you have a 5% CTR on Facebook, you don't get 5% of, you don't get 5 clicks from 100 impressions. You get way less, usually half. And because CTR is the click rate, meaning an engagement rate where people either clicked, commented, liked, or for example, they had a 3-5 second video view. This also counts as clicks, and this will be counted in your click rate and not in your outbound click rate, because you keep people on the platform. This is just an engagement with your ad, which is very important. And this CTR can be anywhere between 0 and 10%. You will not find any brand ever that has a higher engagement click rate than 10%, unless you do some really weird stuff with your optimization, just optimizing for video views or optimizing for like engagement. Then you might have more of that, but then all the other metrics won't perform well because you're not optimizing for conversions, for purchases, for new customers. So keep this in mind. If you have, let's say, a 5% engagement rate on your ads, which means from 100 impressions that you served, that the ads were delivered, you get 5 clicks. And not traffic clicks, but engagement clicks. So you might get 5 likes, 5 comments, 5 anything. And so there is a cost associated with it. And this might be very important if you care about how well people engage with your brand and how cheap it is to reach people that make an impression. It's CPC, cost per click, not outbound, but actually keeping on Facebook, just a random click, anything. And that's why I also say here CPE, cost per engagement. And obviously, the lower you have these, the higher you have your CTR, the lower these engagement clicks are. And that is very valuable if you can reach if you pay a couple cents to have people commenting, sharing, engaging with your brand, that's like already a good indicator that you're on the right track with your content and obviously with your product and brand as well. So also these, there's a logic from left to right to this. For example, if you have a really bad product, you will never be able to come up with a good brand because everything just already is kind of dead by the bad product. And you obviously won't be able to have like super high engaging click rates on your ads because of the bad product. And people just see the product immediately and they can tell, I don't need this, and they swipe it away and they don't engage. Same with your brand. If you look like super shady, super salesy, I know like people are very cautious today to not click onto shady stuff that doesn't we have a lot of fake scam products everywhere on the internet. So if you have like a bad brand, you will also not get these high click rates here. So there's a logic to it. Already, if you have a bottleneck here, you can try your best to fix it through other areas, but it will just not result in good KPIs. So what we basically need is to begin with, for now, I would always say, hey, if you don't have like at least a 70-80% PPC score and at least a 55 out of 10 PPC score to start with, then I wouldn't just not invest anything into ads because it will just be a waste, right? It will just be a waste of your money because you can't get these numbers if you have a bad product or a bad brand in the beginning. So this is engagement and this is nice. Imagine you have some people engaging with your brand. You have like a 4 or 5% engagement rate, which means this whole thing is basically calculated with a 20 euro CPM cost. So from a 4% CTR, you get like 50 cent engagement cost per engagement. And remember, this is not an outbound click. An outbound click happens once people engage with your brand and they are so interested what you have to offer that they want to buy this, they want to learn more, they want to click here, and they actually click. And so this is then counted as the outbound CTR, which is usually half as the CTR, with a maximum of 5% here in this case. For example, this Shark Tank company that we had, they performed like a 3.5, 4% CTR. I've seen other crazy ad accounts, like for example, you might know Wim Hof, right? Wim Hof, the Iceman. Just if you don't know him, just Google him. When he became known, we were running his ad accounts in Germany and some other countries. And what happened was that you could tell that these kind of ads, you have to have like these kind of ad KPIs that we were looking at were mainly driven by the fact that there's a guy swimming through ice or sitting in ice or walking barefoot on the mountains in ice. And this is like really, really exciting, engaging social media kind of stuff that people just want to see. And the engagement was super cheap. We had like 50, 70, 80% of organic reach. So it was like basically viral, and you would just control the reach better with your ad spend behind it. And these kind of ads that were created and particularly crafted in the way that they are most engaging, they had outbound CTR of like 4.5%, resulting in super cheap click costs, outbound click costs of a couple of cents. In this case, when you look here, you have like 30 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents. So this is like the cheap click costs. And the metric that I call it is cost per view. What I mean is landing page view. Because obviously, there's a slight difference between outbound click and arriving click on your landing page. The outbound clicks are perfectly tracked and measured by the tools like Facebook itself, because that's their data. For tracking the landing page views, you might encounter some problems with tracking with iOS 14, with data problems, or for example, if you just have a really bad landing page load speed, then you might have 100 outbound clicks and only 60, 70, 80% actually arrive on the page. With the right optimization and the right tools, you might get a 70, 97, 98, 99% success rate. So there's a very slight difference between outbound click cost and cost per landing page view. And theoretically, you would put both metrics here in this case. Just like here, I say CPC, CPE. Here, I would say outbound CPC and CPV. So this is the metric. And I usually calculate stuff with like a 1 to 2 euro cost per view, cost per landing page view, because that's just easy to get, very easy to get. And so you kind of know that for 100 euros, you would get like from 50 to 100 landing page visits. This is like just a complete general standard that I always use to kind of get a first feel for everything. And I can immediately tell if someone is way better than this. They're doing like some really good stuff with their ads and with their brand and with their product, and they're having good stuff. And if some brands are like in the high single digit euros, like spending 5 euros, 6 euros, 7 euros to just have someone on their website or on their landing page, I know there's something really going on in their in the way that they approach these other areas, or maybe they're just super bad at running ads. And so that's the reason why they paid so much on their clicks. And if you already pay so much on your clicks, like 5 euros, and then you will lose like 95% of all these clicks on the next step, right? On the conversion step. Because if you have 5% conversion rate, you only convert 5% of these super expensive clicks, which means 95% of these clicks are kind of wasted and they never buy anything, even though you paid 5 euros for a click. You see how expensive your conversion will get if you already are very expensive here. And so this traffic and conversion, this is like the standard performance marketing metrics that you might see and know already if you studied this stuff. And for example, if you have a 1% outbound CTR, €2 click cost, which is very easy to get for any B2C brand, and you get a 5% conversion rate on your initial product, this would result in a 40 euro CPA. And this is the range, well, basically this range here. This is the range where I try to make the most, where I try to have my businesses, I want to have my businesses in this range, and here I can easily scale. And that's why I always say your CPA costs will most likely be between 10 and 40 euros because of this 1 to 2 euro click costs and 5 to 10% conversion rate on your landing page. And that's why I say you will most likely have conversion acquisition costs between 10 and 40, sometimes 50, 60 euros. And you should be very happy with these numbers. If you're just selling a 10, 20, 30 euro product, then you will be afraid by these numbers. And it is not the right solution to try to optimize your traffic and your conversion in this like completely over optimized way. Imbalanced. That would be very imbalanced to go into Facebook ads or YouTube ads or TikTok ads with a very bad product and a very bad brand. And then you try to make the big margins and the big profits happen through getting your acquisition costs so down, so then you can be profitable with a really low CLTV. That is unhealthy. That doesn't work. That is not sustainable. That won't work for long. And you might go viral here and there, and you might get like a very, very good market situation, and hype, trend, winning product kind of thinking for maybe a few months, but it will break down, and you won't be able to create a long-lasting $1 million automated business with that, because it will just die, and you will lose your margins, and it will be every day it will become harder to keep the profits up when you scale your budget and your CPA costs rise and your conversion rate goes down and your click costs rise, and over time this business will just fail. Whereas my businesses and the businesses that I've built start with a really good product. We care a lot about the brand, about the trust, about how we are perceived. We create really great ads that sometimes can run for years and get you cheap clicks for years. And your landing pages, I had landing pages that generated 5-10 million euros over 3 years, just one landing page. And after it started to work well and we knew, okay, we have everything in it. We have the what, we have the how, we have the why, we have the trust, we have the conversion. It's a healthy conversion rate. It's well optimized. People get every information they need to make a good purchase decision. Once we have that, we keep it. We leave it. We just let it run for years, and it makes money. It makes the profit between 10 and 40 euro CPA costs. And you should have a very, very high CLTV so you can be happy with these numbers. If you're unhappy with a 10 to 40 euro CPA cost, you should worry more about your CLTV than getting these conversion costs down. And so the last number is then the CLTV, and from looking at the relation between CPA and CLTV, CPA basically meaning cost per acquisition and CR is conversion rate, CLTV is a customer lifetime value. And here is where the ROAS is created. For example, if you have, and this is a revenue return on ad spend, and I talk more about revenue and profit in the future. The reason I want to have a 10x revenue ROAS is because I need a lot of more revenue to pay for everything else that the business kind of needs. Obviously, I need to pay the 10 euro CPA costs here. So I'm left with 90 euro revenue profit. I need to deduct expenses for manufacturing, for production, for resources, for logistics, for the shipping, for taxes, for my employees, my office, all the tools, a lot of stuff. So I need to have a lot of space to being able to have this sort of marketing game going on. If I only have a 25 euro product, I will I pay more in marketing than my whole revenue, which doesn't make any sense. So I need a lot of revenue, at least a 150 euro CLTV from the first 1 to 3 years of my customer being a new customer in my business. I want them to retain, make multiple orders, buy upsells, buy cross-sells, refer their friends, do a lot of stuff, engage with me and retain and build a healthy long-term relationship with this newly acquired customer. And through that, over time, I get more and more revenue from the same customer that I once acquired for 10 to 40 euros. And typically we scale businesses anywhere between a 5 and 15x revenue ROAS. If you have just most of these info brand online course coaches, consultants, they scale their businesses on a way lower ROAS. They have like 1 million in ad spend and 2 million in revenue, and they are fine with it, which would be a 2x ROAS. They are fine with it because they have no other expenses apart from some hosting or some tools that cost like 19 or 50 euros per month to host their course, right? So they are happy by paying 250 euros in acquisition cost to get one new customer that might pay them 500 euros once, or maybe they have like an average, they have multiple coachings and they have like an average CLTV of 500 euros. And this would still kind of work, but you obviously would have a very bad ROAS in this case, but they are fine with it. I typically scaled my business in the past, and what I typically do today is I scale for 10x revenue ROAS, and this will sometimes average with a 5x profit ROAS, because you have some margins. For e-commerce, you have like 60 to 90% margins. You're selling a 100 euro product. You produce it for 10 euros, so 90 euros profit, then you have tax and you have like all the stuff. And after spending 1 million in ads, we have like 5 million in profit, 10 million in revenue. This is like the base model. Obviously, it might change depending on business. It's very hard to predict the stuff. You don't know exactly if you're going to make like 10,000 customers or 30,000 customers in a year. This will change, but overall, this is what we shoot for. And this is just very, very important. One thing I also wanted to say to the conversion rate here, because sometimes you hear online marketers talk about a 30, 40, 50% conversion rate. Yes, this can happen, especially if you have like a lead magnet or just an opt-in form landing page where you give out things for free for an email or for just something. Obviously, this is not bringing you any money, and this is also not bringing you any new customer. This is bringing you leads or some people testing out stuff. This is not what we want. We want a first initial customer. We start selling our first product anywhere between 5 and 100 euros most of the time. And I want to have my landing page or my landing pages convert between a 5 to 10% conversion rate on this first sale. And it is the first sale where actually some money is where something is paid by the customer. Otherwise, I don't count it. And obviously, if you give out something for free, it will be way higher. Your conversion rate will be way higher, but it's not a transaction. So if the funnel looks like this, for example, you have a free book and then a call or an online course afterwards, you might have a 30% conversion rate on your lead magnet, which would be very good, but you have only 50% or even less of people buying your actual product later. So then we would count that and we would mark it as a 15% conversion rate, because what we basically say here at conversion rate, this means a paid conversion. I need a paid conversion. And whenever a paid conversion happens, then I count it. So if you have a 50% free conversion, 30% free conversion and only 50% of free testers, free leads buy your first product, then that would cut it in half and you would result in a 15% conversion rate, which would still be very good because you see it's like on the top end of the scale here. While as most businesses are kind of stuck down here and they pay way too much for their acquisition and they have low CLTV and that's why the whole business doesn't work. And then the new logic says, and now here we have this amazing scale, which is not a bottleneck. It is the sum of the system. The system is measured how good, how big is the daily transformation of energy. How much, like you would say that a business where I can spend 10,000 euros per day on ads profitably and turn it into 6-figure revenue, this is a very big, great, nice business. While as another business that already struggles by spending a couple hundred euros profitably and they're not making any money, they're unprofitable, they have like really low KPIs everywhere, this will be a very small business and a bad business. So the size is measured by the energy transformation that can happen. And this scale here basically goes from the small testing budget, which is 50, 100, 200 euros per day, up to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and even higher per day in ad spend. And obviously you only spend this kind of money if you generate enough cheap customers with cheap CPA costs in relation to your CLTV. So you only spend that kind of money if you have a profitable system. And need a profitable system in the testing phase already. Once you start investing like 100, 200 euros, you would want to have to see that your KPIs are good, your acquisitions get in, you get like 10 euro CPA cost, and you know on average customer buys this and they buy that, and you have like your numbers ready. And once you see that, you can scale up your budget. And you can always scale up your budget as high as the weakest bottleneck here. So if you, for example, have a brand problem, then you will be pretty fast, you will be limited by that, and you can only spend a couple hundred euros per day. Once you scale higher, you won't be able to get the output of that. You will just lose money. I had ad accounts where for 500 euros a day, we were getting 50 or maybe like 25 or 10 customers. And let's say 500 euros a day, 10 customers. And for 1,000 euros a day, we were not getting 20, we were getting 11 or also 10, which means like you spend way more money and you put way more energy in, but you don't get any more out. That is because the output is limited by one of the bottlenecks in these 6 areas. So you have to fix these bottlenecks and improve your brand, and then the whole thing is lifted and you can scale higher until the next bottleneck's kind of limited again, and then you need to like get the really good stuff, and you get the really good video ads, and you get the expert traffic optimization, and you have like the most amazing funnel, and you improve your CLTV so you can even spend more money on one acquisition, and then you can scale higher. And then your business is basically at 1,000 euros per day ad spend, which definitely means 6-figure revenues. And that's how we grow these businesses, and that's how it works. And this is just a wonderful, wonderful thing to finally have. I'm so proud of that. I took the time and I just followed through. And even though I had 10, 15 businesses failing after another, and I was completely frustrated and lost, I just didn't give up. I continued with it, and now we have this amazing framework that anyone can use to come up with a new business idea, evaluate the products, evaluate the idea. Does it have the CLTV that we need to scale? Does it have the product quality that we need to kind of get the market? Does it have the brand trust? Does it have the, how can we come up with really good engaging ads that get cheap engagement and cheap clicks? And how can we create an amazing, highly converting sales funnel or the landing page that just helps us turn this idea into a highly successful business? And that's exactly what we do. And this framework is the really big new thing that we've developed and that we use. And everything that follows is basically parts of deepening the understanding in various areas of this framework. For example, we could now talk deeply about what kind of products work, what are the aspects that make good products work, how can we take a fairly bad product and turn it into a better product, how can we improve here, what does a good sales funnel look like, which sales funnel strategy is the right one for my business, how do we create the brand, how do we create the ads and everything. So this is just the absolute solution for every problem, for every founder, for every agency, for every freelancer, for everyone who works in digital marketing or that invests into businesses or that grows his own dream businesses. This is how it works. We've proven it. We know it better than anyone else on the planet. And in the next videos, I'm just going to deepen the understanding about these various areas. Also, if one of these areas is, for example, of particular interest to you, for example, product, you could study everything that we have to product deeply, which would be the perfect product checklist, also various stuff that focus more on how to improve the product, how to make the product even go viral, or how to make like a very, very, just a great product, the perfect product, how to create these. And this goes for brand, this goes for content, this goes for traffic, for all the, and this same logic works on every different social media channel. It works on Google, it works on TikTok, it works on Snapchat, on Spotify, on podcast, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on every new social media platform that's going to come, or even on the non-social media platforms, would be something like your search engine or something. It works everywhere because the law that you need to have a great product and a great brand and great content and a great conversion rate and a high CLTV retention, these laws are not changing if you are getting customers from different sources. Like, they are deeply rooted in this theory of digital entrepreneurship itself, and they don't care about the customers coming from there or from there or from there. You will always have some sort of marketing costs associated with these platforms. Some are cheaper, then you might get away with a 50, 60 euro CLTV for a couple of years or months until the whole thing is saturated and the CPM cost is at 20 euro again, and then you need to have a higher CLTV. So if you have like a bad business, you can get away with a new platform like TikTok right now. Or for example, 5 years ago, you could sell any bullshit product completely easily on Facebook ads because it was just super easy to sell there and to market, and the impressions and the reach, everything was cheap. So the numbers were better. If you had cheap click costs, even though you had a bad click rate because your product, your brand, and your content was bad, you had a bad click rate outbound, but you still had cheap click costs because the CPM of the reach was just so small. So there are a lot of things that we can now work on, and my goal is to extract everything that I know about this into these videos, share them with you, help you share them with your colleagues, with your partners, with your founders, co-founders, friends. And yeah, let's just go super deep in these videos, and I see you in the next one.